So here is a very interesting description of my personal life experience. Now, imagine this. There are many people who are experienced and even maybe expert at um, a certain skill. There are many people that are experienced and possibly even expert at a certain skill. But there are young people growing up, and you don't give them any communication at all about this experience that takes a measure of skill, and there are some principles and elements to learn and practice. But the children grow up without any training from the wise ones, or without being given any uh, coaching or basic information. So the children grow up beginning to discover themselves, beginning to experiment themselves, to figure out how to develop or create a pleasurable feeling, and to share some pleasurable feelings with one another in an attitude of, okay, let's figure out what feels good. Let's try this, let's try that. And my own personal life, from my youth, um, I did not know that both of my parents were extremely skilled in some of the pleasurable things. I didn't know that they were extremely skilled, and they didn't talk to me about the skill. So, me and my friends and acquaintances began to learn how to develop the skills and techniques and pleasures. But then, many, many, many years later, I discovered information and teaching from a kind and cheerful elder who brought many ideas and many operative skills in this whole atmosphere of developing what is pleasurable, and even also sharing what is pleasurable with one another in our unique binary form. Woman form is very nice and very wonderful. Man form is very nice and very wonderful. But they are different, and there are truly different responsibilities and skills that you can incorporate for reasonable and continuing pleasure and sharing pleasure with one another. So basically, I am a man, an older guy, who is now looking back on I could have been instructed in the things of pleasure and sharing pleasure, and how I could have been instructed in the idea that there is a value to actually gently avoiding the stimulation and the pleasure. There's an interesting, special value to basically saying, no pleasure, thank you. And that is the basics of my story. A child growing up without instruction, bumping along, creating some troubles and problems, but doing the best they can, and then receiving some excellent, skilled instruction that honestly brings a very new perspective. Even the idea that the best pleasure is actually no pleasure at all, because the best pleasure is in the invisible place of the next life, where there are no afflictions and lies and death and deception and poor parenting and a lack of education about critical and essential things. There is a lack of education about critical and essential things. There is a lack of education being presented regarding critical and essential things.